The massive doors of the Galactic Council chamber slid open with a soft hiss. Ambassador Sarah Mitchell walked through them with steady steps, her polished black shoes clicking against the crystalline floor. Behind her, 3 other humans followed in perfect formation. They wore simple navy blue uniforms with small Earth insignias on their shoulders. Nothing fancy, nothing decorated with gold or silver like the aliens around them. The chamber was enormous. The ceiling stretched so high that Sarah could barely see it through the shimmering lights that floated in the air. Around the circular room, representatives from 47 different alien species sat on elevated platforms. Each platform glowed with a different color, marking which civilization sat there. Some aliens had scales, others had fur. Some looked like they were made of living crystal, while others seemed to be floating clouds of gas held together by force fields. At the center of it all sat the High Council. 5 beings from the oldest and most powerful civilizations in the galaxy. The Zephron representative sat in the middle, his 3 eyes blinking slowly as he watched the humans approach. His skin was deep purple and his body was thin and tall, at least 9 feet from head to toe. When he spoke, his voice came out in a melodic tone that made the air vibrate. "Humans of Earth," he began, his translator converting his words into perfect English. "You have requested membership in the Galactic Collective. This is a rare honor. Very few species are considered worthy." Sarah stopped at the designated spot on the floor. A circle of light appeared around her and her team. She straightened her back and looked directly at the High Council. "We are grateful for this opportunity," she said clearly. "Humanity wishes to join the greater galactic community. We have much to offer and much to learn." A rippling sound filled the chamber. It took Sarah a moment to realize that the aliens were laughing. The sound came in different frequencies, some high-pitched whistles, some deep rumbles, but all of them were clearly amused. The Zephron leaned forward. "Tell us, human, what exactly do you have to offer? We have reviewed your technological profile. Your ships still use chemical propulsion. Your weapons are—" He paused as if searching for the right word. "Kinetic in nature." "That is correct," Sarah replied. "Our primary ship weapons are railguns and mass drivers. We have also developed advanced missile systems and—" "Railguns!" The voice came from the left side of the chamber. A Vorian representative stood up, his forearms spreading wide in what might have been a gesture of disbelief. His body was covered in golden armor that seemed to be part of his skin. "You still throw pieces of metal at your enemies. How wonderfully primitive." More laughter echoed through the chamber. Sarah felt her jaw tighten, but she kept her expression neutral. Beside her, Colonel James Park shifted slightly, his hands clasped behind his back to keep them from curling into fists. The Zephron raised one long-fingered hand, and the laughter died down. "You must understand our reaction, Ambassador Mitchell. The species in this chamber mastered teleportation technology thousands of years ago, some of us tens of thousands of years ago. We do not throw objects at our enemies. We appear beside them, strike with directed energy, and disappear before they can respond. This is civilized warfare. We fight with precision," added a crystalline being from the upper platforms. Her voice sounded like wind chimes. "With elegance. With technology that transcends the crude laws of ballistic physics." Sarah took a slow breath. "We understand that our technology may seem basic compared to yours, but it is effective. Our railguns can accelerate projectiles to significant fractions of light speed. Our targeting systems can hit a target that stays still, perhaps." The Vorkian interrupted. He moved down from his platform, his golden form gliding across the air without any visible means of support. "Telekinesis," Sarah guessed, or some form of gravity manipulation. But what good is your gun when your target is never where you aim? When they appear, strike, and vanish in microseconds? The Vorkian stopped a few feet from Sarah. Even without his platform, he towered over her. "I have reviewed your military history, human. You fight wars that last years, decades even. You march armies across the ground. You build bunkers and trenches. You throw explosives at each other like cave dwellers with rocks." He turned to address the entire chamber. "They are infants playing with fire, dangerous only to themselves." Sarah felt Colonel Park tense beside her, but she gave the smallest shake of her head. Getting angry would prove nothing. The Zephron spoke again, his 3 eyes focusing on Sarah with what might have been pity. "The galaxy is not kind to the unprepared, Ambassador. There are threats out here that would consume your entire civilization in days. The Krell Dominion, for example. Raiders and pirates who have plagued our borders for centuries. They use teleportation hit-and-run tactics. They appear, they destroy, they vanish. Even our advanced civilizations struggle to counter them. Perhaps, Sarah said carefully, we could assist with this problem. As a demonstration of what humanity can contribute. The chamber fell silent for a moment. Then the laughter started again, louder this time. You? The Vorkian's voice was full of mock surprise. You would face the Krell? With your little metal guns? The Zephron held up his hand again, but this time he was smiling. At least the expression on his face looked like a smile. Actually, he said slowly, that is not a terrible idea. He looked at the other members of the High Council. They seemed to communicate silently for a moment, then nodded in agreement. Very well, humans. We will grant you a probationary status. A test, if you will. The Zephron's 3 eyes gleamed. The Krell have been raiding the Arcturus Gap region for months. Our patrols cannot pin them down. They teleport in, destroy mining operations and cargo ships, then disappear into the nebula. If you can stop them, if you can prove that your primitive kinetic weapons have any value in modern warfare, we will consider your application for membership. And if we fail? Sarah asked. Then you return to Earth and stay there. Your species will be quarantined to your home system. No trade, no contact, no knowledge of the greater galaxy. You will be alone among the stars, protected from dangers you cannot face, until perhaps in a few thousand years you develop proper technology. Sarah looked at her team. Dr. Chen, their science advisor, gave a slight nod. Colonel Park's expression was unreadable, but she knew him well enough to see the determination in his eyes. Commander Rodriguez, their naval liaison, actually looked eager. We accept, Sarah said firmly. The Zephron nodded slowly. Then it is decided. You have 1 standard galactic month to prepare. Our observers will accompany you to document your efforts. I do hope you have sufficient escape pods on your ships. You will likely need them. The Vorkian drifted back to his platform, but not before giving Sarah one last look. I almost feel sorry for you, human. The Krell will eat you alive. Your railguns will fire at empty space while they tear your ships apart from the inside. But perhaps you will provide entertainment before the end. The galaxy enjoys watching primitive species learn their limitations. We also enjoy watching the arrogant learn theirs, Sarah replied quietly. The Vorkian's eyes narrowed, but he said nothing more. The Zephron dismissed the session with a wave of his hand, and the platforms began to empty as representatives from dozens of worlds filed out of the chamber. As Sarah and her team walked back toward the exit, she could hear the whispered conversations around them. Most were in alien languages, but the translators picked up enough. They will last 5 minutes against the Krell. Such a waste. They seemed like an interesting species. Primitives always think they are special. They always learn otherwise. Outside the chamber, in a corridor made of what looked like solidified light, Colonel Park finally spoke. They think we are a joke. Yes, Sarah agreed. Good, Dr. Chen added, adjusting his glasses. Let them think that. Underestimation is a tactical advantage. Commander Rodriguez was already on her communicator, speaking rapidly to someone back on the human ships. Get me Admiral Chen, tell him to begin final preparations, and tell him the galaxy thinks we are going to fail spectacularly. They reached the docking bay where their shuttle waited. Through the transparent walls, Sarah could see the vast expanse of space around Citadel Station. Hundreds of alien ships floated in perfect formation, each one using technology that humanity had only dreamed about. Teleportation, faster than light travel, energy shields that could withstand star-level radiation. But as she climbed into the shuttle, Sarah smiled. The aliens had forgotten something important, something that every human child learned in basic physics class. For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. It did not matter how advanced your teleportation technology was. When you appeared in a location, you occupied space. You displaced matter and energy. You followed the laws of physics whether you admitted it or not. And if you followed the laws of physics, you could be predicted, calculated, targeted. The shuttle pulled away from the station, and Sarah looked back at the massive structure one last time. Somewhere in there, 47 alien species were probably still laughing about the primitive humans and their metal guns. Let them laugh, she thought. In 1 month, the galaxy would learn what humanity already knew. Physics did not care about technology. Physics did not care about elegance or civilization or thousands of years of advancement. Physics was absolute, universal, unforgiving, and humanity had built an entire military doctrine around one simple truth. If something exists in space and time, it can be hit. And if it can be hit with enough force, it can be destroyed. The railguns would speak soon enough, and the galaxy would listen. Admiral Marcus Chen stood on the bridge of the USS Prometheus, humanity's largest warship, and watched the stars streak past the view screen. Behind him, his crew worked in focused silence, each person at their station running calculations, checking systems, preparing for what was coming. 1 month. That was all the time the Galactic Council had given them to prepare for the Krell. 1 month to prove that humanity deserved a place among the stars, or be sent back to Earth in shame and isolation. Admiral, incoming transmission from the Citadel, Lieutenant Morrison announced from the communications station. It is the Vorkian delegation. Again, Marcus sighed. This was the 5th call in 3 days. Put them through. The view screen changed from the starfield to the image of Commander Zaxil, a Vorkian military officer with golden armor that seemed to glow with its own light. His 4 eyes blinked in sequence, a gesture Marcus had learned meant amusement. Admiral Chen, Zaxil said, his voice smooth and condescending. I am calling to once more offer our assistance. We have prepared a full technical package on teleportation shield harmonics. With our help, you could at least equip your ships with basic defensive teleportation. It would give you a small chance of survival against the Krell. We appreciate the offer, Commander, Marcus replied with practiced patience. But we will rely on our own systems for this engagement. Zaxil's expression shifted to what might have been confusion. Admiral, you do understand what you face? The Krell use quantum teleportation matrices. They can appear anywhere within a 3-dimensional combat space. Your sensors cannot track them between jumps. Your weapons cannot fire at targets that are not there. He leaned forward. You need teleportation technology to fight teleportation technology. This is basic military doctrine, unchanged for 10,000 years. Perhaps it is time for military doctrine to change, Marcus said. Change? Zaxil's laugh was like crystal breaking. To what? Throwing metal faster? Admiral, I have studied your railgun specifications. Impressive for a primitive species, yes. You can accelerate a slug to 0.3 light speed. Remarkable. But what good is speed when you are aiming at empty space? Marcus clasped his hands behind his back. Commander, I have studied the Krell's tactics as well. Your own reports show they follow predictable patterns. They teleport in, fire, and teleport out, always within certain energy ranges, always following quantum probability matrices. Yes, but those matrices are impossible to calculate in real-time combat, Zaxil said. You would need computing power beyond anything your species has developed. And even if you could calculate the probabilities, you would need to fire before the Krell appear. You would be shooting at ghosts. Then we will shoot at ghosts, Marcus said simply. Zaxil stared at him for a long moment. Then he shook his head, all 4 eyes closing briefly. You are either incredibly brave or incredibly foolish, Admiral. I suspect the latter. When your ships are burning debris in the Arcturus Gap, remember that we offered to help. Zaxil out, the screen went dark. Lieutenant Morrison turned in her chair. Sir, should we reconsider? The Vorkians have been fighting the Krell for decades. Maybe they know something we don't. Marcus walked to the tactical display table in the center of the bridge. With a gesture, he brought up a 3-dimensional map of the Arcturus Gap. The nebula was shown in swirling colors, and scattered throughout were red markers indicating Krell attacks over the past year. They know a lot, Lieutenant, Marcus said, but they have forgotten something important. They have forgotten how to think like prey. Captain Sarah Okonkwo, the Prometheus's executive officer, looked up from her station. Sir, the Vorkians, the Zephyrans, all the elder species, they have been apex predators for so long that they have forgotten what it is like to be hunted. They build their tactics around superiority, around being the faster, stronger, more advanced force. Marcus touched the holographic display, and the red markers began to glow brighter. But humans, we have been prey for most of our existence. We learned to hunt by understanding how we were hunted. We learned to fight by understanding how we were killed. He zoomed in on one section of the nebula. The Krell teleport in, attack, and teleport out. The elder species try to track them, try to match their teleportation with their own. It is a game of speed, and the Krell are winning. He tapped a control and blue lines appeared on the display, connecting the red markers in complex patterns. But look at this. Every attack follows quantum probability curves. The Krell cannot teleport anywhere. They follow the laws of physics, and physics can be predicted. Dr. Helena Vasquez, the chief science officer, approached the table. She had been working for 72 hours straight, and it showed in her tired eyes. But there was excitement in her voice. The calculations are complete, Admiral. We have mapped every possible teleportation point in the Arcturus Gap, based on quantum probability matrices, energy signatures, and gravitational constants. There are approximately 47 million possible locations. 47 million, Captain Okonkwo repeated. How do we possibly cover that many points? We don't need to cover all of them, Dr. Vasquez said, calling up another display. The Krell always attack near valuable targets. Mining stations, cargo routes, patrol paths. When we narrow the field to tactical teleportation points near our fleet, the number drops to approximately 12,000 locations. Still a lot of empty space to shoot at, Lieutenant Morrison observed. Marcus smiled. Which is exactly what we are going to do. But not with conventional fire patterns. Dr. Vasquez showed them the solution. The display changed again. Now it showed a human destroyer, the UESS Newton's Revenge, surrounded by thousands of tiny blue dots. Each dot represented a railgun projectile. We cannot match the Krell's teleportation, Dr. Vasquez explained, but we can create a kill zone. Our railguns can fire continuously, saturating probable teleportation points with projectiles. We do not need to aim at a target. We need to fill space with metal moving fast enough that anything appearing there will be destroyed. We call it predictive saturation fire, Marcus added. We calculate where the enemy is most likely to appear, based on tactical necessity and quantum probability. Then we fill that space with tungsten slugs moving at relativistic speeds before they even teleport in. Captain Okonkwo studied the display, her expression thoughtful. So we are not aiming at the Krell. We are making the Krell teleport into our bullets. Exactly. And the elder species have never tried this? They rely too much on precision, Dr. Vasquez said. On elegance. On directed energy weapons that require line of sight and active targeting. They think of combat as a duel. We think of it as pest control. You do not chase a rat with a sword. You set traps where you know it will run. The bridge crew was silent for a moment, processing the implications. Then Lieutenant Morrison spoke up. Admiral, the Galactic observers are requesting permission to board. They want to document our preparations. Of course they do, Marcus muttered. They want to watch us fail. Permission granted. Put them in the observation deck and give them access to non-classified systems only. Over the next week, the Prometheus and its escort fleet worked around the clock. Engineers modified railgun loading systems to increase fire rates. Targeting computers were updated with the quantum probability calculations. Supply ships brought millions of tungsten slugs, each one precision machined and magnetically charged for optimal acceleration. The Galactic observers watched everything with barely concealed amusement. Marcus could see them through the observation deck windows. Various alien species pointing at the human crews and clearly commenting on the primitive nature of their preparations. One Zephron observer was apparently running a live stream to the Citadel, complete with mocking commentary that the translators helpfully provided. Look at them loading physical ammunition, the Zephron was saying. Millions of metal slugs, each one a testament to their backwardness. In the time it takes to load one magazine, a civilized warship could recharge its energy weapons 100 times. Marcus ignored them. Let them laugh. Let them stream. Let the entire galaxy watch and make jokes. It would make the victory that much sweeter. On the 8th day, Commander Zaxil visited in person. The Vorkion materialized on the Prometheus's bridge in a flash of golden light, his personal teleporter announcing his arrival with a soft chime. I thought I would see for myself how you prepare for suicide, Zaxil said without preamble. He walked around the bridge, examining the human equipment with the air of a museum visitor looking at ancient artifacts. Fascinating. Your computers are quantum-based, at least. That is something. But these control interfaces... He touched a console and the human officer there pulled back slightly. Tactile buttons, physical switches. Do you not have neural interfaces? We prefer manual controls, Captain Okonkwo said. Less vulnerable to electronic warfare. Electronic warfare, Zaxil repeated as if tasting the words. How charmingly paranoid. He turned to face Admiral Chen. I have spoken with the Krell, you know. The bridge went quiet. Marcus raised an eyebrow. Have you? Through intermediaries, of course. We do not negotiate with pirates, but we maintain channels. I asked them about you, about the humans they will soon face. Zaxiel's 4 eyes glittered with something that might have been anticipation. They are very excited. They have never fought a species that uses kinetic weapons. They think it will be entertaining. A brief entertainment, but entertaining nonetheless. What did you tell them about us? Marcus asked. The truth, that you are primitives with metal guns, that you refuse our help because of pride or ignorance, that you will provide target practice for their crews. Zaxiel moved to the view screen, looking out at the stars. The Krell warlord Thaxacor has personally requested the honor of destroying your fleet. He has fought the Vorkian Empire, the Zephron Concord, even the Crystalline Archons, but never has he fought a species so technologically inferior. He views it as a novelty, a story to tell his warriors. How considerate of him, Marcus said dryly. Zaxiel turned back. I am not here to mock you, Admiral. Not entirely. I am here to make one final offer. Surrender now. Admit your limitations. We will escort you back to Earth and your people can live in peace in your home system. No shame in admitting you are not ready for the greater galaxy. Marcus walked to stand beside the Vorkian, both of them looking out at the stars. Commander, do you know what my ancestors did when they faced superior enemies? Died, I assume. Sometimes. But other times they won. Not through superior technology or advanced weapons. They won by understanding that the enemy's strength could be their weakness. A heavily armored knight falls harder than a peasant. A faster ship has less armor. A teleporting warrior has to appear somewhere. Marcus turned to face Zaxiel directly. You ask me to surrender because you think we cannot win. I ask you to watch carefully because you are about to learn something. Zaxiel stared at him for a long moment. Then he laughed, a sound like shattering glass. Very well, Admiral. I will watch. We all will. The galaxy has its eyes on you now. Billions of beings will witness your failure. Try to make it memorable, at least. He vanished in another flash of golden light, leaving the bridge in silence. Sir, Lieutenant Morrison said quietly. He is right about one thing. The whole galaxy is watching. Marcus returned to his command chair and sat down. Good, let them watch. Let them see what happens when you underestimate humanity. The final 2 weeks of preparation passed quickly. The fleet moved into position near the Arcturus Gap. Supply ships made their last deliveries. Crew members sent final messages to their families on Earth, just in case the worst happened. On the observation deck, the alien observers set up sophisticated recording equipment. More species had sent representatives when they heard about the upcoming battle. Even some of the High Council members had arrived in their personal ships, parking at a safe distance to watch the show. The galactic streams were buzzing with activity. Betting pools had formed. The odds of human victory were listed at approximately 5,000 to 1. Most species were betting on how long the humans would last, with the average guess being around 7 minutes. Admiral Chen sat in his quarters the night before the engagement, reviewing the tactical plans one final time. Everything was ready. The calculations were complete. The weapons were loaded. The crews were prepared. There was a knock on his door. Captain Okonkwo entered when he called. Can't sleep either? She asked. Too much to think about, Marcus admitted. He gestured to the screen on his wall, which showed the latest galactic commentary. Alien pundits were discussing humanity's imminent defeat with academic interest, breaking down all the reasons why kinetic weapons were obsolete. They are so certain, Sarah said, sitting down across from him. Yes, are we? Marcus looked at her. Sarah had been with him for 10 years. Through 3 different ships and 24 engagements against pirates and rebels in Earth's home system. She had never asked if he was certain before. I am certain of 2 things, he said finally. First, our calculations are correct. The mathematics works. If the Krell follow their patterns, our strategy will succeed. And second? Second, if we fail because physics is wrong. And if physics is wrong, we have bigger problems than the Krell. Sarah smiled. That is not reassuring, sir. No, Marcus agreed. But it is honest. They sat in silence for a moment, then Sarah stood. The crew is ready. They trust you. They trust the plan. I know. Then get some sleep, Admiral. Tomorrow we show the galaxy what humans can do. After she left, Marcus dimmed the lights and lay down on his bunk. Sleep did not come easily, but eventually he drifted off. His last thought before sleeping was simple. Let them laugh. Let them mock. Let them bet against us. Tomorrow the Railguns would speak, and the galaxy would learn to listen. The Arcturus gap stretched before them like a painting made of cosmic dust and dying stars. The nebula swirled in shades of purple and blue, with streams of ionized gas cutting through the darkness like frozen lightning. It was beautiful in a way that made Admiral Marcus Chen think of deep ocean trenches back on Earth, places where light barely reached and danger lurked in every shadow. All stations report ready. Admiral, Captain Okonkwo announced from her position. Around the bridge, the crew sat at their stations with focused calm. They had drilled this 1,000 times in simulation. Now it was real. Marcus looked at the tactical display. The human fleet formed a loose sphere formation, with the Prometheus at the center. 12 destroyers made up the outer shell, each one positioned according to precise calculations. The UESS Newton's Revenge held the forward position, its railgun batteries already humming with magnetic charge. Observer ships have moved to minimum safe distance, Lieutenant Morrison reported. They are broadcasting on multiple channels. Estimate audience of 3 billion across the galaxy. 3 billion beings watching, waiting for humanity to fail. Marcus could almost feel their eyes on him pressing down like physical weight. Let them watch, he said quietly. Tactical, confirm firing solutions. Commander Liu, the tactical officer, checked his displays. All firing solutions loaded and verified. Quantum probability matrices active. We have predictive targeting on 12,347 potential teleportation points. Railgun magazines at maximum capacity. We can maintain saturation fire for 47 minutes before requiring reload. Communications, open a channel to the fleet. Channel open, sir. Marcus stood, straightening his uniform. All ships, this is Admiral Chen. In a few moments, the Krell will arrive. They will expect us to react to their appearance, to panic, to fire blindly at targets that vanish before we can track them. We will not do that. He paused, letting his words sink in. We are not here to chase the enemy. We are here to make the enemy come to us, to space we own, to coordinates we control. Trust the calculations. Trust your training. And remember, physics does not take sides. It simply is. Chen out. He sat back down and took a slow breath. All ships, battle stations. Prepare to engage. The bridge lights dimmed slightly, switching to combat mode. Red indicators appeared on every console. Throughout the fleet, thousands of sailors sat at their posts, hands on controls, waiting. Contact. Morrison's voice cut through the tension. Multiple quantum signatures forming. Range 200,000 kilometers. Count as 37 Krell warships, Admiral. They are preparing to teleport. Positions? Marcus asked calmly. Commander Liu studied his display. Signatures match predicted patterns. They are clustering near optimal attack vectors for our fleet formation. Probability calculations holding at 93% accuracy. Weapons free, Marcus ordered. Commence predictive saturation fire. What happened next would be analyzed by military strategists across the galaxy for decades to come. The human fleet opened fire, but not at the Krell ships that were still visible on sensors. Instead, they fired at empty space. The railguns of 12 destroyers and 1 battleship spoke as one. Not the bright flash of energy weapons, but the deep magnetic thrum of metal being accelerated to impossible speeds. Tungsten slugs, each one weighing exactly 5 kilograms, each one machined to perfect density, leaped from their barrels at 30% of light speed. In the observation ships, alien commentators paused mid-sentence, confused by what they were seeing. The humans are firing at nothing, a Zephron analyst said, his 3 eyes blinking in confusion. Their targeting systems must have malfunctioned. They are shooting into empty nebula space. On the command ship of the Vorkion observers, Commander Zaxil leaned forward in his seat. What are they doing? There are no targets at those coordinates, but there would be. The Krell fleet materialized exactly 3.7 seconds after the humans opened fire. 37 warships appeared in perfect attack formation, their quantum teleporters executing the jump with practiced precision. Their weapon ports glowed as they prepared to fire at the primitive human vessels. They appeared directly into a cloud of tungsten traveling at 90,000 kilometers per second. The first Krell ship to die was the cruiser Vengeance of Thax. It materialized, with its shields already charging, its crew confident and ready. The ship existed in real space for exactly 0.03 seconds before 17 tungsten slugs passed through it. At relativistic speeds, the small projectiles hit with the force of nuclear weapons. The cruiser did not explode so much as it simply ceased to be a ship and became an expanding cloud of superheated plasma. The second Krell ship lasted 0.08 seconds. The third, 0.11 seconds. The destruction cascaded through the Krell formation like dominoes falling. They had teleported into a kill zone that already existed, a volume of space so saturated with kinetic projectiles that survival was mathematically impossible. On the bridge of the Prometheus, alarms blared as the sensors registered massive energy releases. "Hits confirmed," Commander Liu shouted, his voice rising despite his training. 17 targets destroyed. 19 targets destroyed. 23. Admiral, the Krell they are dying before they can even fire. Marcus watched the tactical display with the focus of a chess master seeing his strategy unfold. Maintain fire. Adjust patterns alpha through gamma. They will try to compensate. They did try. The surviving Krell ships, their commanders reacting with desperate speed, attempted to teleport away from the kill zone. But the human calculations had predicted this too. The probability matrices included escape vectors, likely retreat positions, emergency jump coordinates. The railguns tracked and fired, saturating the new positions with metal death. Krell ships blinked out of existence only to reappear in space that was already filled with tungsten rounds. The mathematics was perfect. The physics was absolute. In the observation ships, silence had fallen. No one was laughing now. "This is impossible," someone whispered on the Vorkian command ship. Zaxel's 4 eyes were wide, all of them fixed on the tactical display showing the slaughter. On the galactic streams, commentators struggled to process what they were seeing. The Zephron analyst spoke in a stunned voice. "The humans, they calculated the teleportation points. They fired before the Krell arrived. They turned the Krell's own tactics against them. By all the old gods, they weaponized probability itself." Krell warlord Thaxkor sat on the bridge of his flagship, the Devourer, and watched his fleet die. He was a veteran of 300 battles. He had fought the Vorkians, the Zephrons, the crystalline Archons. He had won glory and wealth beyond measure, and now he was watching primitive humans with metal guns destroy his warriors before they could even engage. "All ships scatter formation," he roared. "Random teleportation. Do not follow tactical protocols. Jump anywhere, jump everywhere. Confuse their calculations." It was a good plan. A desperate plan, but good. If the Krell abandoned their tactical doctrine and jumped randomly, the human probability matrices would become less accurate. There were millions of possible positions in the nebula, and the humans could not cover them all. But Admiral Chen had predicted this too. "They are scattering, sir," Commander Liu reported, "jumping to non-optimal positions. Our hit rate is dropping. 70%, 60%, 50%. Switch to defensive saturation," Marcus ordered calmly. "Pattern Omega. Protect the fleet, not the space." The human railguns shifted their fire. Instead of trying to predict where the Krell would go, they focused on where the Krell needed to go to hurt the human fleet. The mathematics was simpler but just as deadly. To attack the human ships, the Krell had to teleport within weapons range, and weapons range was a sphere of space that could be calculated, predicted, and filled with metal. The Krell tried. They appeared at extreme range, fired their energy weapons, and teleported away. But energy weapons dispersed over distance, especially in a nebula. Their shots splashed against the human shields with minimal effect, and each time they appeared to fire, a few of them did not teleport away fast enough. The tungsten found them, killed them, reduced them to atoms and memories. 8 Krell ships remaining, Morrison reported. They are clustering near the nebula core. Heavy interference in that region. Our probability calculations are, Admiral, we cannot get accurate predictions in that much ionized gas. Marcus studied the display. The nebula core was a churning mass of radiation and electromagnetic chaos, a perfect hiding spot. The Krell were learning, adapting. They had found a place where human mathematics could not reach them. Orders, sir, Captain Okonkwo asked. Marcus touched a control, opening a channel. Newton's Revenge, this is Prometheus Actual. Execute hunting pattern Delta. You are released for independent action. Acknowledged, Admiral, came the reply from Commander Sarah Zheng, captain of the Newton's Revenge. We have the scent. Beginning pursuit. The destroyer broke formation and accelerated toward the nebula core. Unlike the larger ships, the Newton's Revenge had been specially modified for high-rate saturation fire. Its railguns could fire continuously, creating a literal wall of metal in any direction. "This should be interesting," Marcus murmured. The Krell watched the lone human destroyer approach. On the Devourer, Warlord Thaxcor bared his teeth in what his species called a smile. The humans had made a mistake sending one ship after 8. "All vessels, focus fire on that destroyer. Synchronized teleportation on my mark. We appear. We destroy it in one strike. We show these primitives what happens when they dare to fight the Krell." His warriors acknowledged. 8 ships, all their weapons charged, all their crews ready. They would appear as one, fire as one, and erase that human ship from existence. "Mark!" The Krell fleet teleported as a unit, appearing in a perfect attack sphere around the Newton's Revenge. Their weapons glowed with deadly energy. It was a maneuver they had practiced countless times, a killing formation that had destroyed larger ships than this single human destroyer. But Commander Zheng had not been sitting idle while waiting for them. The Newton's Revenge had been firing the entire time, saturating the space around itself with railgun rounds. Not in precise patterns or calculated vectors, just firing in all directions, creating a sphere of metal death that expanded outward from the ship like a deadly bubble. The Krell appeared directly into it. At that range, with that density of fire, shields meant nothing. The tungsten rounds punched through energy barriers like they were not there. The Krell ships, appearing in perfect synchronization for their killing strike, died in perfect synchronization instead. The Devourer died last. Warlord Thaxcor had time for one final thought before a tungsten slug traveling at relativistic speed entered through his ship's forward viewport and turned everything inside into superheated gas. His last thought was simple and terrible. "We brought swords to a gunfight." On the Prometheus, Commander Liu watched his sensors in awe. "All Krell ships destroyed, Admiral. Total engagement time, 14 minutes, 37 seconds. Our casualties, 0. Damage to fleet, minimal shield depletion on 3 destroyers." The bridge crew wanted to cheer. Marcus could see it in their eyes, the desire to celebrate an impossible victory. But they held their discipline, waiting for his word. Marcus stood slowly. He looked at each member of his bridge crew, then at the tactical display showing the debris field that had been a Krell fleet. 37 ships destroyed by mathematics and metal. "Well done," he said simply. "All hands secure from battle stations. Damage control teams begin assessment. Communications inform the observers that they are free to examine the battlefield." "Sir, we are receiving multiple hails from the observation fleet," Morrison said. "Commander Zaxel is requesting immediate communication. He sounds different. Put him through." The Vorkion's image appeared on the screen. His golden armor seemed dimmed somehow, and his 4 eyes were wide with something that looked like shock. "Admiral Chen," Zaxel said, and his voice had lost all its condescension. "What we just witnessed. How did you... Your species has been in space for less than a century. How did you defeat tactics that have dominated galactic warfare for 10,000 years?" Marcus clasped his hands behind his back. "We remembered something that you forgot, Commander. We remembered that all your technology, all your teleportation and energy shields and quantum matrices, all of it still follows the same physical laws. You cannot teleport without following quantum probability. You cannot appear without displacing space. You cannot exist without being somewhere." He paused. "And if you are somewhere, we can calculate where. And if we can calculate where, we can put a bullet there first. But the computational power required is less than you think. You made warfare complicated because you could. You added layers of technology because you had them. We kept it simple because we had to. Calculate where the enemy must be. Put metal there. Let physics do the rest." Zaxel was quiet for a long moment. Then he gave a gesture that Marcus had learned was the Vorkion equivalent of a bow. "We were wrong about you. Spectacularly, completely wrong. The galaxy needs to see this. All of it." "They will," Marcus said. "The battle is being streamed." "No, Admiral. They need to understand this. May I send tactical analysts to study your methods?" "You may. But there is not much to study. Just mathematics and metal." After the channel closed, Captain Okonkwo moved to stand beside Marcus. "Just mathematics and metal," she repeated. "You make it sound so simple." "It is simple. That is the point." Marcus looked out at the debris field, at the expanding clouds of gas that had been enemy ships. The elder species made warfare into an art form. Beautiful, elegant, complex. We made it into a science. Ugly, brutal, effective. What happens now? Marcus smiled. "Now, Captain, the galaxy learns a lesson. You do not need the most advanced technology to win. You need to understand the technology you have. You need to know your enemy. And you need to remember that in the end, physics always wins. On observation ships throughout the system, alien military officers sat in stunned silence. On the galactic streams, the betting pools had closed. No one had bet on a human victory in 14 minutes with 0 casualties. It had not even been considered possible. And somewhere, in the High Council chambers of the Citadel, 5 very old, very advanced alien beings looked at each other and realized that everything they knew about warfare had just become obsolete. The primitives with their metal guns had just changed the galaxy forever. And they had done it with nothing more than mathematics, metal, and an understanding that physics did not care how advanced you were. Physics simply was. And humanity had learned to speak its language. The news spread through the galaxy faster than light itself. Quantum communication networks carried the footage of the battle to every civilized world, every colony, every outpost. Within hours, billions of beings had watched the impossible happen. The primitive humans, dismissed and mocked, had destroyed a Krell fleet without taking a single casualty. Admiral Marcus Chen sat in his quarters aboard the Prometheus, reading reports on a datapad. The messages were flooding in from everywhere. Scientists requesting detailed analysis of human tactics. Military commanders asking for consultations. Even some civilian media outlets wanted interviews with the genius who revolutionized warfare. There was a knock on his door. He looked up to see Ambassador Sarah Mitchell enter, followed by Dr. Helena Vasquez. "Admiral," Sarah said, and she was smiling wider than Marcus had seen in months. "The Galactic Council has requested an emergency session. They want to discuss humanity's membership application." "That was fast," Marcus said. "The battle footage has over 9 billion views now," Dr. Vasquez added, sitting down across from him. "And the reaction is, well, it is complicated. Some species are celebrating. They see this as proof that the old military doctrines need to change. But others are scared." "Scared?" Marcus raised an eyebrow. "Of us?" "Scared of what it means," Sarah explained. "For 10,000 years, the elder species have maintained dominance through technology. Teleportation, energy weapons, quantum shields. Their entire civilization is built on the idea that advancement equals power. And then we show up with what they call primitive weapons and defeat tactics that have been unbeatable for millennia. We prove that their foundation is flawed," Dr. Vasquez said. "That sophistication is not the same as effectiveness, and that terrifies them." Marcus set down the data pad. "They should be terrified. Not of us, but of what they have forgotten. They have been safe for so long that they stopped thinking about the fundamentals. They stopped asking why their weapons work and started just assuming they always would." Before anyone could respond, Lieutenant Morrison's voice came over the intercom. "Admiral, you need to see this." Turning on the main feed, the wall screen activated, showing a galactic news broadcast. The Vorkian correspondent looked directly at the camera, all 4 of her eyes bright with intensity. "Breaking news from the Vorkian Empire. The Grand Assembly has declared what they call a tactical error in the Battle of Arcturus Gap. They claim the human victory was a fluke, a lucky guess that caught the Krell off guard. To prove their point, the Vorkian Grand Armada has been dispatched to engage human forces in a, and I quote, demonstration of true military superiority." Sarah's face went pale. "They cannot be serious," the broadcast continued. "The Grand Armada consists of 47 capital ships, the pride of the Vorkian military. They are being led by Grand Admiral Krunzix himself, who stated that he will, quote, restore proper order to galactic warfare and show these upstart primitives their place." Marcus stood slowly, his mind already running calculations. "How long until they reach our position?" "The Vorkian ships are already en route," Morrison's voice replied. "ETA is 6 hours. Admiral, they have sent a formal challenge. They want to engage us in the Helios expanse. Open space, no nebula interference. They want to prove that we only won because of environmental factors." "This is madness," Sarah said. "The Vorkians are supposed to be the most advanced military in the galaxy. Why would they risk this?" Dr. Vasquez pulled up data on her tablet. "Pride, fear, desperation. The Vorkians have built their entire society around military dominance. If we have truly made their tactics obsolete, then what is their purpose? What is their identity? They need to prove we were lucky, not skilled." Marcus walked to the window looking out at the stars. 6 hours. The Vorkians were giving him 6 hours to prepare for a force that should, by all conventional wisdom, destroy his fleet easily. 47 capital ships against his 13. "Get me Commander Zaxel," Marcus said quietly. A moment later, the Vorkian officer appeared on the screen. He looked troubled, his golden armor seeming tarnished somehow. "Admiral Chen," Zaxel said, "I assume you have heard." "I have." "Commander, is your leadership serious about this?" "Unfortunately, yes. The Grand Assembly is... They are not thinking clearly. Your victory has shaken them badly. They need to believe it was an accident, a quirk of circumstance. They need to prove that Vorkian superiority still matters." "And what do you believe?" Marcus asked. Zaxel was quiet for a moment. "I believe I watched you destroy 37 ships in 14 minutes. I believe I watched you turn the laws of physics into a weapon. I believe that my people are making a terrible mistake. Then stop them. I cannot. The Grand Admiral has the full backing of the Assembly. This is happening, Admiral, and I am required to observe and report." Zaxel leaned forward, his 4 eyes intense. "But I will tell you this. Grand Admiral Kronzix is a brilliant commander. He has studied your battle extensively. He will not make the same mistakes the Krell made. He will adapt, compensate, change tactics. This will not be easy." "It never is," Marcus said. "But thank you for the warning." After Zaxel disconnected, Marcus turned to his officers. "All hands to battle stations. We have 6 hours. I want every railgun checked, every calculation verified, every contingency planned. And I want the Newton's Revenge ready for independent action again." "What is the plan, sir?" Sarah asked. Marcus smiled, but it was a cold smile. "The same plan. Calculate where they must be. Put metal there. Let physics do the rest." The 6 hours passed quickly. Marcus spent them on the bridge, working with his tactical team to analyze every piece of data they had on Vorkian combat doctrine. The aliens were predictable in their own way. They relied on teleportation superiority, on energy weapons, on shields that could withstand star-level radiation. But they had one weakness that Marcus had identified. They were proud. And proud warriors fought honorably, which meant they fought predictably. When the Vorkian Grand Armada arrived, it was a sight to behold. 47 ships, each one massive and gleaming, each one armed with weapons that could vaporize planets. They formed up in perfect military precision, a display of power meant to intimidate. Grand Admiral Kronzix's face appeared on every screen in the human fleet. He was impressive, even by Vorkian standards. His armor was pure gold, inlaid with symbols of rank that glowed with their own light. His 4 eyes blazed with absolute confidence. "Humans," he said, his voice carrying the weight of authority. "I am Grand Admiral Kronzix of the Vorkian Empire. You have achieved an unlikely victory through circumstance and luck. Now you face the true might of galactic civilization. We will engage you in honest combat, in open space with no environmental tricks to save you. Prepare yourselves." Marcus opened a channel in response. "Grand Admiral, this is Admiral Chen. We accept your challenge. But I should warn you. You will warn me of nothing, primitive. We have analyzed your tactics. We understand your limitations. You cannot predict our movements in open space. You cannot calculate quantum probabilities without environmental constraints to narrow the field. You have won 1 battle. You will not win 2, the channel closed." Marcus looked at his tactical officer. "Commander Liu, confirm his statement. Can we predict their teleportation in open space?" Liu checked his displays. "He is partially correct, sir. Without the nebula to constrain positions, the probability matrix expands to approximately 2 million potential locations. Our accuracy drops to about 30%. We cannot saturate that much space effectively." "Then we will not try to," Marcus said. Change of tactics. Defensive sphere formation pattern Sigma. All ships prepare for close engagement. Captain Okonkwo looked at him with concern. "Sir, close engagement favors their energy weapons. Our armor cannot withstand directed plasma at short range." "It will not have to," Marcus replied. "Trust me, Captain." The Vorkian fleet began their attack run. Grand Admiral Kronzix had clearly learned from the Krell's mistakes. His ships did not teleport randomly or follow standard tactical protocols. Instead, they appeared in a coordinated wave, far enough apart that saturation fire could not hit multiple targets, but close enough to provide mutual support. It was a good plan. It should have worked, but then the UESS Newton's Revenge broke formation. The destroyer accelerated directly toward the center of the Vorkian fleet, its railguns already firing. Not in calculated patterns, but in a continuous stream. The ship became a moving fortress of death, spewing tungsten in all directions. "What is that fool doing?" Kronzix demanded on his bridge. "One ship against my entire armada?" "This is suicide!" "Sir, recommend we ignore the single ship and focus on the main fleet," his tactical officer suggested. "No, it is bait. An obvious distraction." Kronzix smiled. "But I will take it anyway. All ships focus fire on that destroyer. Teleport to optimal range and destroy it. Show the humans what happens to heroes." 20 Vorkian ships teleported simultaneously, surrounding the Newton's Revenge from multiple vectors. Their energy weapons charged, ready to fire in perfect synchronization. But the Newton's Revenge had been firing continuously since it began its run. By the time the Vorkian ships appeared, the space around the destroyer was not empty. It was filled with thousands of tungsten rounds, all moving in different directions, all deadly. The Vorkians appeared into a maelstrom of metal. Their shields held for a few seconds, maybe 3 or 4. Then the sheer volume of projectiles overwhelmed them. Shields collapsed. Hulls ruptured. Ships died, but not all of them. 7 Vorkian ships survived the initial barrage, their commanders reacting with desperate speed to teleport away. They reappeared at maximum range, damaged but intact. On the Newton's Revenge, Commander Jung watched her ammunition counters drop towards 0. They had fired almost everything, creating that kill zone. Now they were vulnerable. "Grand Admiral," one of Kronzix's officers called out. "The destroyer is nearly out of ammunition. We can—" "No," Kronzix said quietly. He was staring at his tactical display, and for the first time, understanding was dawning in his eyes. It was not bait. It was a demonstration. Look at the main human fleet. Look at their position. While the Newton's Revenge had drawn Vorkian attention, the rest of the human fleet had moved. They had not scattered or retreated. They had tightened their formation, creating overlapping fields of fire, and they had been firing the entire time, not at the Vorkian ships, but at the space around themselves. They had turned their defensive formation into a kill zone. Kronzix saw the trap too late. His remaining ships were now caught between two choices: teleport close enough to attack effectively, which meant appearing in space saturated with railgun fire, or stay at long range where their energy weapons were less effective. He chose aggression. "All ships maximum power to shields. Teleport to attack range. Coordinated fire on my mark. We will overwhelm them through sheer firepower." The Vorkian fleet teleported as one, 27 ships appearing in perfect attack formation, all their weapons glowing with deadly energy. They appeared exactly where Marcus had predicted they would. Not through complex probability matrices this time, but through simple logic. There was only one optimal attack position given their formation and objectives, only one place where all ships could fire, effectively while maintaining mutual support. The humans had been firing at that position for the past 3 minutes. The Gary space was so thick with tungsten that sensors could barely penetrate it. The Vorkian ships appeared and immediately began taking hits. 1 slug, 2 slugs, dozens, hundreds. Their shields held for a moment, then collapsed under the sustained barrage. Grand Admiral Kronzix watched his fleet die around him. His flagship was taking hits, alarms blaring, crew members calling out damage reports. He understood now, understood with perfect clarity. The humans had not gotten lucky at Arcturus Gap. They had not relied on environmental factors or tricks. They had understood something fundamental that the Vorkians had forgotten. War was not about having the best technology. It was about using the technology you had in the smartest way possible. The humans could not out-teleport the Vorkians. They could not out-shield them or out-energy weapon them, so they had not tried. Instead, they had created situations where teleportation became a liability, where appearing meant dying, where the enemy's strength became their weakness. "All ships," Kronzix said quietly, his voice defeated. "Retreat. Emergency teleportation. Random vectors flee." The surviving Vorkian ships blinked out of existence, scattering to the cosmic winds. Of the original 47, only 12 escaped. The rest were debris, expanding clouds of metal and gas that had been the pride of the Vorkian military. On the Prometheus, the bridge crew was silent. They had done it again. Against a supposedly superior force, they had won. "Casualties?" Marcus asked. "The Newton's Revenge took some damage but is operational," Morrison reported. Minor hull breaches on 3 destroyers. No losses, no deaths, Marcus nodded slowly. He opened a channel to the fleeing Vorkian ships. Grand Admiral Kronzix, this is Admiral Chen. We mean you no further harm. Return to your people. Tell them what you learned here. There was a long pause. Then Kronzix's voice came through and it was hollow, broken. What we learned? We learned that we are obsolete, Admiral. That 10,000 years of advancement mean nothing against a species that remembers how to fight, how to truly fight, not just display technological superiority. You are not obsolete, Marcus said. Your technology is magnificent. Your ships are marvels. But you forgot that technology is a tool, not a solution. You forgot to think like warriors and started thinking like artists, creating beautiful battles instead of effective ones. And now? Now you learn, adapt. Remember what war really is. Not an art form, Grand Admiral. A science. A brutal, ugly science where the only thing that matters is what works. The channel closed. The Vorkian ships vanished into faster-than-light travel, heading home to report their failure. Dr. Vasquez approached Marcus on the bridge. Admiral, the galactic streams are going insane. We just defeated the Vorkian Grand Armada. The reaction is, well, I cannot even describe it. Fear, awe, panic, celebration. The entire political structure of the galaxy is shifting in real time. Good, Marcus said. Maybe now they will listen. Maybe now they will understand that advancement without understanding is just complexity, and complexity without purpose is weakness. Captain Okonkwo looked at the tactical display, at the debris field that had been a Grand Armada. What happens now, sir? We have humiliated 2 of the galaxy's greatest military powers. The others will not sit idle. No, Marcus agreed. They will not. Some will fear us. Some will want to learn from us. Some will challenge us to prove themselves. But all of them will change. They will have to. We have broken their paradigm, Captain. We have shown that the Emperor has no clothes. The galaxy will never be the same. Is that what we wanted? Marcus looked out at the stars, at the vast expanse of space that humanity was just beginning to explore. We wanted respect. We wanted a place in the galactic community. We wanted to prove we deserved to be here. I think we proved that, Okonkwo said quietly. Yes, Marcus replied. But we proved something else too. We proved that sometimes the student has lessons to teach the master. That sometimes the primitive has wisdom the advanced have forgotten. That sometimes the simplest solution is the best one. He turned to face his crew. Prepare for more challenges because they are coming. But also prepare for partnership, for cooperation, for change. We have shaken the galaxy. Now we help it rebuild. On worlds across the stars, military academies began emergency reviews of their doctrines. Weapons manufacturers started researching kinetic systems they had abandoned millennia ago. Scientists published papers on human tactical theory, trying to understand how such simple concepts had defeated such advanced technology. And in the council chambers of every major civilization, leaders looked at each other with the same question in their eyes. If the humans could revolutionize warfare with primitive weapons, what else were we wrong about? The galaxy was learning, and humanity, the species everyone had dismissed, was teaching the lessons, with mathematics, metal, and an understanding that physics did not care about your pride. It only cared about what worked. 6 months had passed since the Battle of Helios Expanse, and the Galactic Council chambers looked different. Not physically, the crystalline walls and floating lights were the same, but the atmosphere had changed completely. Where once there had been casual arrogance, now there was careful attention. Where once there had been dismissive laughter, now there was respectful silence. Admiral Marcus Chen walked through the massive doors, but this time he was not a petitioner. He wore a new uniform, one that combined human military tradition with subtle elements from a dozen alien cultures. On his shoulder, instead of Earth's insignia alone, was the symbol of his new position, Supreme Military Coordinator of Collective Defense. Behind him walked a mixed group. Captain Okonkwo, Dr. Vasquez, and Commander Liu represented humanity, but there were others now. A Vorkian tactical officer, a Zephron scientist, even a reformed Krell warrior, who had survived the Arcturus Gap by pure chance and had since become one of humanity's most dedicated students. The High Council sat in their elevated positions, but they did not look down at Marcus with superiority anymore. The Zephron representative, the same one who had mocked humanity 6 months ago, stood as Marcus approached. Admiral Chen, the Zephron said, and his 3 eyes showed something that might have been respect. Welcome. The Council is assembled and ready to hear your report on the integration of human tactical doctrine across collective forces. Marcus stopped at the center of the chamber. The circle of light appeared around him, but it felt different now. Not like a spotlight exposing a primitive, but like a stage for someone the galaxy wanted to hear. Thank you, Counselor, Marcus said. Over the past 6 months, we have worked with 42 different species to modernize their military capabilities. The results have been remarkable. He gestured, and a holographic display appeared above him. It showed various alien ships, but they looked different now. Sleeker in some ways, more aggressive in others. And along their hulls, unmistakable railgun batteries. The Vorkion Empire has retrofitted 80% of their fleet with kinetic weapons, Marcus continued. Their ships now carry both energy weapons and mass drivers. They have learned to use teleportation for positioning and logistics, not as their primary attack method. In recent engagements with border pirates, their success rate has improved by 300%. A Vorkian officer stood from his platform. It was Commander Zaxel, but he wore new insignia now. He had been promoted after his honest reports about human capabilities. The Admiral speaks the truth, Zaxel said. Our entire military academy has been restructured. We now teach human tactical theory alongside our traditional doctrines. Our young officers study battles from Earth's history, learning lessons from conflicts we once dismissed as primitive. And we are better for it. Another alien rose, this one a crystalline being whose body chimed softly as she moved. The Archon Collective has also adopted human methodologies. We have always relied on energy manipulation and directed force, but the humans taught us that sometimes the simplest solution is the most effective. Our ships now carry what we call kinetic enforcers, based on human railgun designs. Our border conflicts have decreased by 60% because our enemies no longer see us as predictable. Marcus nodded his thanks. The success stories go beyond just weapons. We have shared our tactical philosophy with 17 species. The core principle is simple. Understand your tools, understand your enemy, and remember that physics is absolute. Technology should serve strategy, not replace it. The Zephron counselor leaned forward. You have done more than share tactics, Admiral. You have changed how we think about warfare entirely. For 10,000 years, we equated advancement with complexity. We built weapons because we could, not because we needed them. You reminded us that effectiveness matters more than sophistication. With respect, Counselor, Marcus said carefully, we did not remind you of anything. We simply showed you what we learned from our own history. Earth spent most of its existence as a divided world. We fought each other constantly, and that forced us to innovate, to think differently, to never rely on a single approach. We learned that the enemy adapts, so we must adapt faster. We learned that pride kills soldiers, so we abandoned it in favor of pragmatism. A new voice spoke up, one that made the entire chamber turn in surprise. It was Grand Admiral Kronzix of the Vorkion Empire, the commander who had lost so badly at Helios Expanse. He stood slowly, his golden armor looking less bright than before, but his posture was straight and proud. Admiral Chen is too modest, Kronzix said. He claims he only showed us what humans learned. But the truth is deeper. We elder species have been comfortable for too long. We have had no real threats, no true challenges. Our military forces became ceremonial, focused on display rather than function. The humans arrived and demonstrated that we had become soft. They did not just teach us tactics. They taught us humility. The chamber was silent. For a Vorkion Grand Admiral to speak of humility was almost unheard of. Kronzix continued, I have spent 6 months studying at the Human Military Academy on Earth. I have read their history, learned their languages, trained with their officers. Do you know what I discovered? They have a saying, no plan survives first contact with the enemy. They build their entire doctrine around this idea, that assumptions are dangerous, that flexibility is survival, that pride is death. He turned to face Marcus directly. Admiral Chen defeated me not because humans have better weapons. He defeated me because humans think differently. They think like prey that became predators. They understand vulnerability and turn it into strength. They know fear and use it as motivation. We elder species forgot these things because we have been apex predators for so long. The humans reminded us that there is always something to learn, always room to improve, always a better way. Marcus inclined his head slightly. Grand Admiral, Your dedication to learning has been remarkable. You are now one of our finest instructors in adaptive tactics. Because you taught me to abandon pride and embrace knowledge, Kronzix replied. A lesson I will never forget. The Zephyron counselor spoke again. Admiral Chen, your report is noted and appreciated, but there is another matter we must discuss. The purpose of your new position as Supreme Military Coordinator. We have modernized our forces, adopted human tactics, learned humility. But what is the greater purpose? What do we do with this new military philosophy? Marcus had been waiting for this question. We defend, Counselor, but more than that, we prepare. The galaxy is larger than the collective. There are threats beyond our borders that we have not faced. The Krell were raiders, pirates. But there are worse things in the darkness between stars. With our new understanding, our new capabilities, we can face them. And if there are no threats? Another counselor asked. Then we explore, we learn, we grow. But we do it without the arrogance that nearly destroyed us. We do it knowing that the universe does not owe us dominance, that survival requires constant vigilance, that yesterday's victories do not guarantee tomorrow's survival. Dr. Vasquez stepped forward. If I may, counselors, the integration of human and alien technology has produced remarkable innovations. By combining our kinetic weapons with Vorkion teleportation, Zephyron energy manipulation, and Archon shields, we have created hybrid systems that are more effective than any single approach. This is the real lesson. Cooperation and combination create strength that isolation never can. A Krell warrior, the one who had joined the human delegation, spoke up. His voice was rough, but his words were clear. I fought against humans at Arcturus Gap. I survived by luck, nothing more. I expected them to kill me. Instead, they offered me education. They showed me that strength without wisdom is just violence. They taught me that a warrior who cannot adapt is already dead. Now I teach other Krell these lessons. We are no longer raiders, we are students. And someday we hope to be true members of this collective. Marcus looked at the Krell with approval. Throck has become one of our best examples of transformation. His people are transitioning from piracy to legitimate security work. They are using their skills in new ways, productive ways. This is what the new military philosophy enables. Not just better warfare, but better peace. The Zephyron counselor stood fully now, his long body extending to its full height. Then it is time for the final vote. The matter before the council is simple. Do we officially adopt the human tactical doctrine as the foundation for all collective military forces? Do we recognize that the old ways, while not worthless, are incomplete without the lessons humanity has taught us? One by one, the representatives stood. Vorkions, Zephyrons, Archons, and dozens of other species. Each one spoke a simple word in their own language, but the translators rendered them all the same. Yes. When the vote was complete, every single species had agreed. It was unanimous. Then it is decided, the Zephyron declared. The human tactical doctrine is now official collective military policy. Admiral Chen, you will continue as Supreme Military Coordinator with full authority to implement these changes across all member forces. Marcus bowed slightly. I am honored, Counselor, but I want to be clear about something. This is not about human superiority. This is not about our way being the only way. This is about combining the best of all our civilizations, taking human pragmatism, Vorkian precision, Zephyron energy manipulation, Archon defensive theory, and everything else we can learn from each other. The goal is not a human military. The goal is a unified military that is better than any of us could create alone. Spoken like a true leader, Commander Zaxiel said from his platform. This is why we chose you, Admiral. You understand that strength comes from unity, not dominance. The formal session ended, but Marcus was quickly surrounded by various representatives wanting to discuss specific implementations, to ask questions, to share their own experiences with the new tactics. It took an hour to politely extract himself from the conversations. Finally, he found himself in a quiet corridor overlooking the vast expanse of space around Citadel Station. Captain Okonkwo joined him, carrying 2 cups of coffee, an Earth beverage that was becoming popular across the galaxy. "Congratulations, Admiral," she said, handing him a cup. "You have successfully revolutionized galactic civilization. How does it feel?" Marcus sipped the coffee and smiled. "Exhausting, terrifying, exciting, all at once. Do you think it will last? This unity, this cooperation?" "I do not know," Marcus admitted. "But I know we have changed the conversation. 6 months ago, the galaxy saw us as primitives. Now they see us as teachers. Not because we are superior, but because we brought a perspective they had lost. We reminded them that technology is a tool, not a religion. That complexity without understanding is just chaos, that the fundamentals matter." Okonkwo looked out at the stars. "There are still species that resist. The Outer Rim colonies, some of the older empires. They think we are overturning tradition for no reason. They will learn or they will not," Marcus said. "We cannot force change on everyone, but we can demonstrate its value. When our combined fleets start winning battles that would have been losses before, when our security increases and our losses decrease, others will want to know how. Curiosity will do what force cannot." "And what about Earth? What does home think about all this?" Marcus smiled softly. "Earth is proud. Confused, maybe, by how fast everything has changed. 6 months ago, we were begging for acceptance. Now we are leading military reform across the galaxy. But mostly, Earth is relieved. We are not alone anymore. We are not isolated. We have a place here, a real place, earned through competence and wisdom, not just technology." They stood in comfortable silence for a moment, watching ships of 100 different designs drift past the station. Each one now carried some element of human design philosophy, some reminder that simple could be superior. "You know what the real victory is?" Marcus said quietly. "It is not that we won battles. It is that we changed minds. The galaxy thought in one way for 10,000 years. We showed them a different way. Not better, just different. And they were wise enough to see the value in it." "Do you think they will remember the lesson?" Okonkwo asked. "Or will they eventually fall back into old habits?" "Some will remember, some will forget. That is the nature of civilization. But we have planted seeds of doubt in the old certainties. We have shown that there is always room to question, to improve, to evolve. Even if they forget the specific tactics, they will remember that change is possible, that the old ways are not always the best ways. That pride can blind you to truth." A communication chirped on Marcus's wrist device. He glanced at it and smiled. "Ambassador Mitchell wants to meet. Apparently 3 more species have applied for membership in the collective. They specifically requested human evaluation of their military capabilities." 3 more, Okonkwo said. "Word spreads fast." "It does. And that is good. The more species we integrate, the stronger we all become. Not through dominance, but through cooperation. Not through forcing our ways on others, but through sharing knowledge and learning from each other." They started walking back toward the main chamber. As they moved through the corridors, Marcus noticed something that made him smile. Alien officers were studying data pads showing human tactical theory. Young Vorkian cadets were practicing what they called human-style thinking, trying to solve problems with simplicity rather than complexity. A group of Zephyrin scientists were arguing animatedly about kinetic weapon designs, using Earth physics textbooks as references. The galaxy was learning, really learning. Not just copying human tactics, but understanding the philosophy behind them. Understanding that war was not about showcasing technology, but about achieving objectives. That the most advanced weapon was worthless if it could not hit its target. That shields meant nothing against an enemy who could predict where you would be. They reached a large viewing gallery where dozens of military officers from various species were gathered. Someone had set up a presentation, and Marcus recognized the speaker, Commander Liu from the Prometheus. "The key principle," Liu was explaining to the attentive crowd, "is what we call predictive engagement. You do not react to the enemy. You force the enemy to react to you. You create situations where all their options are bad, where teleporting means appearing in a kill zone, where retreating means exposing a flank, where advancing means walking into a trap." A young Archon officer raised a crystalline appendage. But how do you create such situations? Our enemies are not stupid. They will see the trap. Let them see it, Liu replied with a grin. A trap you know about is still a trap if all alternatives are worse. This is psychological warfare combined with tactical positioning. You make the enemy choose between bad and worse, and while they are deciding, you are already moving to the next phase. Marcus and Okonkwo watched for a moment, then continued on. He is a good teacher, Okonkwo observed. He is. We all are because we have to be. This is not just about winning battles anymore, Sarah. This is about changing culture, about building a new military tradition that combines the best of everyone. It is bigger than Earth, bigger than the collective even. It is about proving that different does not mean inferior, that new can be better, that the students can teach the masters. They reached Ambassador Mitchell's office. She was waiting with several alien dignitaries, but when she saw Marcus, she smiled with genuine warmth. Admiral, perfect timing. I want you to meet Ambassador Velcora of the Helix Concordat. They are one of the newer species applying for membership. The Helix Ambassador was a being of flowing energy contained in a geometric force field. When it spoke, the voice was like music. Admiral Chen, your reputation precedes you. We have studied your victories extensively. We wish to learn from humanity. We are honored, Marcus said, bowing slightly. But I must correct you on one thing. You should not learn from humanity alone. You should learn from everyone. We brought one perspective to the galaxy. The Vorkians have another. The Zephrons another, the Archons another. True strength comes from combining them all. Wise words, Velcora said. But surely your perspective is the most valuable, given your successes. Our perspective was valuable because it was different, Marcus explained. Because it challenged assumptions. But now that challenge has been made, the real work begins. Integration, cooperation, mutual learning. We have shown the galaxy that change is possible. Now we all work together to decide what that change should look like. Ambassador Mitchell pulled Marcus aside after the meeting. You are being too modest, she said quietly. The galaxy looks to you for leadership now. Which is exactly why I must be modest, Marcus replied. The moment I start believing we have all the answers is the moment we become what the elder species were. Arrogant, stagnant, vulnerable. I need to keep everyone, including myself, humble and hungry to learn. And if others do not want to stay humble? If they want to use these new tactics for conquest instead of defense? Marcus's expression became serious. Then we stop them. That is part of my responsibility as military coordinator, to ensure that this knowledge is used wisely. We did not give the galaxy better weapons to enable tyranny. We gave them better understanding to enable survival. Over the next hours, Marcus attended meeting after meeting, species wanting advice, military academies requesting instructors, scientists proposing collaborations to develop hybrid technologies. It was overwhelming in its scope, but also inspiring. The galaxy was not just changing its military. It was changing how it thought about problems. Finally, as the station's artificial day cycle began to dim toward evening, Marcus found himself back in his quarters. They were larger than his cabin on the Prometheus, befitting his new position, but he had kept them simple. No excessive decorations, no displays of wealth or power. Just a desk, a bed, and a window overlooking the stars. He sat at the desk and opened a secure channel to Earth. A moment later, Admiral Rodriguez appeared on the screen. She had been his mentor years ago, and now she commanded Earth's home fleet. Marcus, she said with a smile, I have been watching the broadcasts. You have made us proud. I have tried to represent humanity well, Marcus replied. But Rodriguez, I need to talk to you about something that has been bothering me. Go ahead. What if we are wrong? What if this simplification, this focus on fundamentals is just another form of arrogance? What if we are so focused on proving that simple works that we miss the value of complexity? Rodriguez leaned back in her chair, considering the question. You know what I think, Marcus? I think you are asking the right questions. The moment we stop questioning ourselves is the moment we become what we replaced. Yes, simple solutions work. Yes, understanding fundamentals is crucial. But you are right to worry about dogma. Any principle taken to an extreme becomes a weakness. So what do? What you have been doing. Keep learning. Keep listening. Keep integrating ideas from other species. The reason our tactics worked is not because they are inherently superior. It is because they filled a gap in galactic thinking. But there are gaps in our thinking too. Find them, fix them, evolve. Marcus nodded slowly. That is good advice. It is what you already knew. You just needed to hear someone else say it. Rodriguez smiled. Now get some rest. You look exhausted. Earth did not send you out there to work yourself to death. We sent you to show the galaxy what humanity can offer. And you have done that, Marcus. You have done that better than anyone could have imagined. After the call ended, Marcus sat in the darkness of his quarters, thinking. 6 months ago, he had been fighting to prove humanity's worth. Now he was shaping the military future of the galaxy. It was a responsibility he had never asked for, never wanted, but could not refuse. There was a soft chime at his door. When he opened it, he found Dr. Vasquez standing there with a bottle of whiskey and 2 glasses. "Thought you might need this," she said. "It has been a long 6 months." They sat by the window, pouring drinks and watching the stars in comfortable silence. Finally, Vasquez spoke. "Do you ever think about that first day in the council chambers? When they laughed at us?" "Sometimes," Marcus admitted. "Do you wish you could go back and tell them what would happen? Show them the future?" Marcus considered it, then shook his head. No, the struggle was necessary. If they had accepted us immediately, we would not have had to prove ourselves. We would not have had to think so deeply about our strengths and their weaknesses. The mockery forced us to be better. In a strange way, their arrogance was the best thing that could have happened to us. And now we make sure we do not become arrogant ourselves. We remember that we got here through humility and hard work, not through superiority. We stay hungry, stay curious, stay humble. Vasquez raised her glass. "To staying humble." "To staying humble," Marcus echoed, clinking his glass against hers. Far below the station, in the military training centers that had sprung up across dozens of worlds, young officers from 100 species studied together. They learned human tactics, Vorkian precision, Zephron theory, Archon defense. They learned to think flexibly, to question assumptions, to value effectiveness over elegance. They learned that physics was absolute, that mathematics did not care about tradition, that the universe rewarded understanding, not complexity. They learned that a railgun, properly used, could defeat technologies 10,000 years more advanced. They learned that sometimes the simplest answer was the best answer. They learned that pride was the enemy of wisdom, and they learned it all from a species that had been dismissed as primitive, that had been mocked and underestimated, that had proven through action what words could never convey. They learned from humanity, not because humans were superior, but because humans had remembered something the galaxy had forgotten. That survival requires constant evolution, that yesterday's victories do not guarantee tomorrow's survival, and that the moment you stop learning is the moment you start dying. In the council chambers, the High Council prepared for the next day's session. They would discuss expansion, integration, new threats, new opportunities, but underlying all of it was a fundamental shift in thinking. The galaxy had changed, not through conquest or revolution, but through education and demonstration. One species arriving with nothing but metal guns and mathematical certainty had taught the oldest civilizations in the galaxy a lesson they desperately needed. That advancement without wisdom was just complexity. That technology without understanding was just tools. That power without humility was just weakness waiting to be exposed. The galaxy had learned, and it would never forget, because physics did not care about your pride, your history, or your technological advancement. Physics simply was, and humanity, those primitive upstarts with their railguns and their mathematics, had learned to speak its language fluently. They had not just joined the galaxy, they had saved it from itself, one tungsten slug at a time.